I know this is in the middle of the day, and it's a tough time to kind of maybe get out of your routine and things that you're working on. Understand that these are challenging times for everybody in different markets. We've been looking around U.S. and Canada. There's a number of different markets in what people can or cannot do with the whole COVID that we're dealing with. And it's here in Ontario and in Toronto, we're basically working from home. The whole company is basically working from home. We've got the drafters working from home, trying to make sure that we still support you with the activities that you're doing. And kudos to you and your teams being out in the, out in people's homes and stuff. And that's got to be stressful for you, stressful for your teams, and not easy to do. I know that I've talked to a number of providers in our network, and they're taking a lot of precautions, going into people's homes, asking people to leave the homes while they're in there, wearing gloves, some even wearing masks, and not touching or turning on lights and moving Kleenex boxes or anything. So it's, I think some of the feedback I've heard is they've never had homes that were more prepared and well ready to go than ever before, but it's still a nerve-wracking thing to kind of go do. And this process, again, it must be challenging for you and your team. So, we're here to hopefully support you as best as we can. Some of the things that we've done, I think yesterday Chris and his team announced that we would turning on VR and advanced measurements, and I don't know what the third thing was, Chris, if it's slipping my mind here, but making sure that we could support you, bring a little bit more value to the standard packages of iGUIDE, so that it could help out on that front. But again, I hope all of you are keeping safe, you and your families, and your teams as well. So with that, I'm going to let Chris kind of start off, as we've got some new people on here, as well as some people who are just re-engaging. Chris is probably going to take us through a little bit, and I think you can take control, Chris, if I switch over to you on presenter mode.
Have to do that. I don't need that. I'm just going to talk. I don't need to show anything.
Okay.
I don't want that responsibility, Michael. I can't handle it.
All right, certainly. So I'll let you kind of jump in and walk through some of the basic stuff that everybody who's new needs to know.
Yeah, cool. So I just want to start by saying that we have a lot of resources available, and they're all pretty cool. And I'm going to go through those with you, and we're going to talk about sort of like when you would use them, I suppose. And this is good to know because you don't need it till you need it. So it's sort of like if you think about tech support and like when you're in trouble and you need information, it's usually when you're the most stressed, or you're on site, or you're having a problem. And if you can remember any of these things, you'll be set. Anywho, the first thing I want to mention would definitely be our forum. So our forum is very cool. You can go there. You can talk to other iGUIDE operators, people using the system, and you can get their feedback. So our office hours are, like 9 to 5 Eastern time. So we're not always available. So if you want to source a solution, or you want to just have a conversation about something, that's the place to do it, outside of like official support. But I mean, we still post stuff there, so it's not like we're not involved in that, but that's really for sort of people who have the camera to kind of go and talk about stuff. Or if you find cool things, for example, that relate to the other technology that you're using, you can share those there as well, like camera systems or web development tools or whatever. And that's at forum.goiguide.com. If you, during onboarding, you get set up with a special invite or permission so that you can access the operator-only area. So there's a public-facing area and an operator-only area, and the operator-only area is only accessible to people with those permissions or who could log in with those permissions. So that means you can discuss things there like pricing or whatever. And we post extra stuff there that's not really for the public, it's just for you guys. So that's kind of cool. So go have a look at that. And that's something that you would use just whenever you feel like it. But when you're in trouble, what you should probably do is create a support ticket. So if you ask me, how do I contact support when I need it? I'm always going to say the same thing. Just create a support ticket. Often it's the fastest way. So it may seem like the fastest way is just to pick up the phone and make a phone call. and that is pretty fast. But a support ticket is often faster because if you call in on the phone, you're going to talk to Evan or maybe me or maybe someone else, and they're going to have to find the person who can fix that problem for you. So support tickets are really cool. The way it works is that you log into our support portal, and when you do that, you can create a ticket, and that ticket gets sent, it's almost like triaged or sorted, and it gets sent to the person who can answer that question very quickly. So that means you don't have to wait for someone to find someone else with the answer. It just gets sent right to them, which is very cool. And you can use support tickets for anything, really. You can ask questions about the technology, about the software. You can report bugs. You can ask about projects that you have coming up that you're uncertain about. So you're thinking about doing like a baseball stadium or something and you're not sure where to start. You can just create a support ticket and ask. There's nothing wrong with that. It's better to start that conversation early rather than go shoot something that you don't know what to do with later. That being said, if you don't have access to the support tickets, you can phone. And that phone calls are usually reserved for when you're in trouble, like the camera's not behaving the way you think it should be. And when you call in, you're going to get sent to Evan. Evan is very nice, and he's very good at what he does. So, you know, be nice to him. And he'll help you out. Occasionally, if I'm available, I'll answer those phone calls as well. So you might get me, you know, if you're unlucky. And then the last thing I would recommend is sending an email. So if you send an email, you don't get the benefit of the support tickets. Sometimes that's all you have access to, so that's fine, but always create a support ticket if you can, and if that fails, maybe phone, and then if that fails, maybe send an email. But we have other resources that may allow you to avoid sending those communications at all. So in addition to the forum, we also have something called a knowledge base. And then also there's training materials online. So if you're new, you're going to be directed to those training materials from our welcome page that you get sent after you get your camera. But just in case you don't, you didn't see it or you didn't get that welcome email, it's at goiGuide.com, and then there's a tab at the top that says resources. And if you click on it, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, but like the very first thing is training. So if you click that, you're going to get information about how to use the camera, start to finish, how to use the Stitch software, and how to submit data and use our user portal. Like it's all there. But it's arranged in the sense that it's like lessons. You know, it's meant to teach you from the ground up. So if you just got questions, you can always go to our knowledge base. And our knowledge base is at support.youriGuide.com. That's the actual URL. You don't really need to remember that, because if you go to that place I told you before with training, it'll have a link to the knowledge base there. But the knowledge base allows you to search for articles relating specifically to things that you're interested in. So on the first webinar last week, I referenced 3 separate knowledge base articles about different things. There's billable area, I forget, replacing piano tiles and something else. And you can go to our knowledge base and search. You can just say, like, look, I've got this problem, I want to fix it, and you put in your search terms, and like guaranteed there's an article for it. And if there isn't, we'll write one. So the answers to your questions, if they're not like, you know, imminent questions you have to answer right at this very moment, can almost always be found in the knowledge base. And there's just an absolute ton of information there that you can pick away at over time as well. So a big part of what makes the iGUIDE special is the measurement aspect of it. And that's something that people often really struggle to get to grips with, sort of understanding things like the difference between interior area and exterior area and the perimeter wall thickness and all that stuff. So all the information is all there. And if you want to learn, you can go to the knowledge base at any time and you can just, you know, chip away at it bit by bit and become, you know, a measurement expert very slowly over time. The last thing that I will mention is that we have lots of resources on goiGuide.com in terms of marketing. I'm not going to go into any great detail. I'm just going to mention it. We have a lot of videos, and they're all on YouTube, so that means they're all shareable. So you can share them with people. If someone asks you a question like, hey, what is this new iGUIDE thing? You can refer to those resources. And then we also have a marketing catalog and a series of videos to help you by giving you resources that you can use in your marketing efforts. Okay, Michael, you're up. That's it, I'm done talking. Actually, let me check the chat. Oh, no questions. Okay, now I'm done talking. Are you still here, Michael?
If
We've
Michael's
lost
not
him.
there, can I ask a
Should we
question?
panic?
Sorry, guys.
Oh, there
Yeah,
we go.
I'm here.
Okay.
Oh, I
Hey,
forgot to
Chris, I'm
say
wondering
this.
if you
Sorry.
could go in and mute some of the cameras or some of the people that are on there.
Do I have that?
I think
Let's check.
Kelly, you're under Planetar. If you could go on there and maybe mute everybody, that would be great.
Yeah, feel free to put questions in the chat, and then we'll address them all at the end. Ask away.
Great. And if you want to stop me partway through, go ahead, Chris. Really, what we're touching on. First of all, I'm going to ask if everybody could maybe mute their phones or their computers. That would be great. All right. I guess today what we want to focus on is iGUIDE and really how the discussion points around virtual tours and how they're helping us in these times right now. There's a lot of demand for it. People don't want people coming through their homes. Buyers don't want to be going through other people's homes. There's a lot of fear there, and you know, with the social distancing and everything that's going on, how do we still keep the need and help people who need to sell their homes and help deliver on those with our clients, the real estate agents, help them to help people sell their homes. Not everything shuts down, and as we've seen in a number of markets, if they didn't initially, they've switched to making real estate an essential service, and the ability to still go out and market these homes and be able to really display and show and give a good understanding to the buyer of what the home offers and if it's right for them is key. And without being able to walk through a home, how do you do that? And that's really where I believe that, you know, a lot of people are looking to 3D technology to do that for them, but that doesn't solve all the answers. And I think what we'll go through today is that people, home buyers in particular, are looking for a number of resources and a number of different information when they're searching for a home. And so how do they identify if that home is right for them? And, you know, we go back, and some of you have heard us talk about this previously as well. But I'll share the new stats with you from the 2019 Profile of Home Buyers and Sellers study. So this is a study that the National Association of Realtors puts out annually. They survey thousands of home buyers and sellers, and they ask them about the home buying process and what's relevant to them and what's important. And one of the areas where we focus on is on the home buyer search. So how do you help the consumer in their search, and how do we give them the information to make this whole search process easier? One of the biggest things, and one of the stats that I've gained from this was that, and everybody can see my screen. I'm just going to do a quick check here, Chris.
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. One of the stats that you know, that resonates with me is that when you're searching for a home, the number one most frustrating thing, and I think it's almost 60%, I think it's around 56%, is finding that right home for you and your family. And it's a very frustrating process. And so how do you make it more appealing? How do you make that process better? And there's information that buyers have told the National Association of Realtors, they tell us what they find useful. And you can see the top things here. Photos as being number one. You know, great property photos are that emotional tie-in. The work that you guys do out there really draws in the buyer to see, hey, like, you know, that home is interesting. I like it. It makes it look great. And I know personally that, you know, we've been looking, my wife and I have been looking for a home for the last couple of years in the Toronto market, and it's just a difficult market to find a home in, overpriced, not a lot of product. And, you know, I'll look at a home and I can see, hey, this home has potential. The photos are crappy. And I show it to my wife and she's like, yeah, no, I don't want to go see it. like right there, it just shows me she's not interested in even going to see if that home has potential. The other big thing is detailed information about a property. So what is that detailed information? Is that just the price? Is that the number of rooms and bathrooms and bedrooms? That also includes details about the size of the rooms. Are the rooms the right size for my kids' furniture? Is it going to be big enough for, you know, the space that I need? Am I able to fit a king size bed in my master bedroom? And it's also the total square footage of the home. Now, total square footage of a home is not only directly tied to the value of a home, it's one of the 5 key things that ties to the value of a home, but it also quickly identifies if that home is in the range of what you're looking for in terms of the size of a home that you need. So on the flip side, my wife found a home with beautiful pictures. There's a beautiful center hall just down the street from our house. She sent it to me. She says, we need to go look at this house. And in the Toronto market, they don't put the square footage of the home. They're allowed to put a range, and I'm not sure if it's like from, you know, if it would say 1,500 to 2,000. I can't remember if it's 300 or 400 increments, but they put a range down. And I find that very, well, one, insincere from a perspective of a professional putting down a range of what a home size should be. But, you know, I always equate it to, if I was selling you a used car and you came to look at my car and you asked me what were the miles on that car, and I told you it was between 60 and 80,000 miles, you would do a double take. You wouldn't trust me. Like, you would expect me to give you an answer. You buy a cell phone, you get an answer, how much memory it has. You know, you buy any product, it tells you how much weight it is. Why the biggest purchase for a home buyer and for a personal asset do we not give accurate square footage of that home? I know it's a very difficult and complicated subject, but that is something that is very important to really know and understand. And we've got some great resources and some articles on our website that all I'm going to direct you to, and I encourage you to read it and share it with your customers. It's very important. But then, you know, on the flip side, I'm looking at this home. I have to go look at this home with my wife, and I can kind of tell looking at it, I'm like, it's not much bigger than our current house. It's a different format. The center hall, we live in a bungalow, but I don't think it's going to have much storage. And I'm like, I don't think it's right. But no, we've got to go. I listen to the boss. So we go down and we look at the home, and, you know, exactly what I thought. The home was not big enough. It was only about 100 square feet larger than the home that we're in, for a lot more money. So it looked beautiful, it was great, but it was still small. So really making that process frustrating for me personally, in terms of, yeah, there's no floor plans there. I don't really know how it's laid out. I don't know if it's big enough. And that drives into the third point, floor plans. Now, Zillow does a similar study, and on their study, they say floor plans are number 2 in terms of what consumers want to see. And, you know, the National Association's floor plans, every year it comes up as number 3. And it makes sense. You know, you take those beautiful photos that you and your teams make, and, you know, how do they go together? How does it fit and flow together? How do you really understand that space? Does it right for me and my family? Is my kid's room, you know, is my baby's room close to my bedroom? Or is my teenager's room far from my bedroom? Where's the storage in the house? How does the light and where are the windows set? So this really is a huge tool and a huge asset to someone trying to understand a space, especially when you're shopping online or sight unseen, understanding how that home fits and flows and works for you. What's interesting in this report from last year's report is virtual tours actually dropped. They dropped one down, and real estate contact information went up. And now if you look at the total somewhat useful and useful, it's actually higher virtual tours. And I think you'll probably see that bump back up again next year's report, absolutely, especially with what things are going on. But I mean, this is the top information buyers want to see. So how do you deliver that to them than just only a 3D tour? And that's really where I think, you know, you have an advantage in terms of pitching the iGUIDE. Now, I'm not giving you a quick elevator pitch per se, but I want you to have an understanding that the top things is what we're doing is we're creating a better online search experience for the consumer. And really right now, what, prior to the events of dealing with this disease right now, where was the industry growing? The industry was focused on, for the first time, on the consumer, that they actually used that terminology. I went to Inman, the National Association of Realtors, and the California Association of Realtors trade shows. Listened to the CEOs of the top brands speak. Everybody who was there speaking, top executives from Zillow, they were talking about the consumer, and it's definitely a a shift in mindset in terms of their approach. Now, Zillow has always had an approach of grabbing the eyeballs and appealing to the consumer and getting people on their site, and that's how they moved from being a disruptor to the incumbent in the industry. But now with players like Amazon coming into the realm, they are again focused on the consumer, and it's driving back what's important to the consumer. And Zillow sees that as one of the big things they see is floor plans as being an important factor. They're not there yet, but that's one thing that they've identified as being important to the consumer. So what does this mean to you, and what does this mean to your clients? What this means to your clients is that they're going to help their home sellers, help them sell the home faster, help them provide the information out there to really help buyers become better qualified and understand if that home is right for them. I'm going to just now jump into a little bit about the actual tour and the experience of the iGUIDE. So there's multiple different, 360 technologies out there, some really great technologies out there, great experiences. But one thing that really differentiates us is that side-by-side view that you have the visuals right beside the floor plan. And why this is so important is that you can see yourself in the floor plan and where you are relative to the whole rest of the space. You don't tend to get lost. But another great thing is we have a couple different ways of navigating. Now, I came from the consumer package world where we watch people shop. And when you watch people shop online and shopping for a home, they have criteria already set in their mind in terms of what's important to them. So, and I'll use maybe the example of my wife and myself. My wife has some key criteria on the home. And so she wants to identify that first and foremost. So she's like, I want to see the kitchen, because if the kitchen's not right, then we're gonna move on to the next property. Again, this is a very frustrating process, especially online with all what you have and the elements and the information is such a mixed bag of you have listings that have great photos, floor plans, 3D tours, video, have it all. And then you see $1 million listings that have 2 photos. And it's just such a poor mixed experience online where, everything else online is really been hyper-focused on making that experience better. Great walk scores, understanding the neighborhood, understanding, how far you are from work and that commute. And nowadays the commute, what your home's going to be like in your neighborhood and staying at home. This is, but when we go back to, back to living, past this pandemic and moving back to it, how do you understand, that relative to your work and to where you live? One of the things that, you can drill down into, so you got a great experience, but once someone chooses the area that they're going to live in, they already understand and know that area, and they're now looking at the houses within that area. And again, it's really mixed in terms of what they're getting, the information that they're getting. So, you know what? My wife comes and looks. She goes directly to the kitchen. She can identify, is this right for her husband to do all the cooking in? And she says, yeah, great. She's going to go upstairs. Oh, I just went downstairs. Sorry. Let's go to the second floor. She's going to go upstairs and go to the master bedroom, because every weekend, and again, it's the pain points in your life that drive the needs of what your new home is going to provide for you. current home, we can't fit a king size bed in our bedroom. And every weekend the kids come jump in our bed and we get kicked out of our bed. So it'd be great to have a king size bed. And, you know, can you go on screen and identify, would this fit a king size bed and how much room am I going to have? Plenty of room. Now I really have identified that my key criteria are made as a buyer, and I can really dive now deep in and really explore the space a little bit better and kind of understand how this is going to work and flow for me. Dive into the photos and really understand, you know, how this property is engaging and what it means to me. Again, having all that video, the content, and then details about the property, pricing again, the description, but all the room measurements, really understanding that property as a deeper dive. All right, so you all, I mean, I'm not going to run through the whole iGUIDE. I think there's some key things there that we want to identify, and it's really the experience that you have online, but really understanding, having that floor plan there side by each and having all that key information there takes it to another level. So it's not just about having a 360 or a virtual tour, which is really important and is even more important today, but really understanding the relation of that space for yourself. One of the other key things, which, you know, you're all familiar with, is analytics. You know, getting your clients, one of the big things for their clients is now, in these times more than ever, well, even today, like even prior to dealing with the pandemic today, you know, how do agents show value to their clients? How do they show all the work that they're doing behind the scenes, that they're working on weekends, they work evenings, they do all this hard work? And in a market like Toronto, where it's a very expensive home you're buying and they can sell it in 3 days and they get this handsome commission check, the home seller stops and thinks to themselves, wow, I don't make that in 3 days. That's a lot of money that I paid out for 3 days worth of work. Instead, you know, the agent would want their client to really understand, hey, this is what I did for you. I've shared it on social media. I've shared it on the search portals, on Zillow, on Realtor.com, on Realtor.ca. And the more that you want to do as an agent is you want to get it on search, web, and social. So embed it on your web page, drive traffic back there, get it on the search portals, get more views on it, get it on to share it on social media. And there's multiple ways of doing that and sharing it on social media. And we could get into that on another webinar. But that really can drive your analytics. Now you can go back to the home seller and say, hey, feel good about, you know, the price you got for the home. Or if it's a tougher discussion in terms of a market that's not moving as fast, hey, you know what? Let's look at the analytics. We've got some numbers that we can identify. We've had 332 people come look at the home. We've had 111 return visitors. So, you know, it's a good percentage of people coming back. So that's showing strong interest. These are people that are more interested in and likely to now come and look at the home. And so what this means for the home seller is that they are getting the best qualified home buyers interested in their home, but then they also have the most qualified and less disruptions in their home, especially with these concerns of what's going on today. But disruptions at any time are a difficulty for home sellers. You've got kids, you've got families, people in and out of your home. It's difficult. You've got to clean. And that is really the bigger point, is being able to show value to your clients and what you did for them, and them feeling good about selling their home online without having an open house and a bunch of people tramping through their house. A lot of home sellers equate open houses to success, and that's not necessarily true. This is where you can demonstrate, or rather your clients can demonstrate, the value to their home sellers. One other thing I just want to point out, and in some markets, in more of the, I guess our first markets we opened up, we provide you with a downloadable offline version of the iGUIDE. Now you may ask, well, why is that important? You know, they've seen it online, but now let's say after the home is sold, people want to go in, they want to check out that home. They want to see, they want to measure for curtains. They want to see where their furniture is going to fit. They want to plan it out. They want to share it with their designer. They want to figure out how much paint they want to buy. Well, what your client can do now is they can take a download of that iGUIDE. And what some of the providers in some of the local markets have done is they bought these little jump keys that look like houses. But, you know, is there a way that we can get them access to that iGUIDE? And so they give them a jump key of that iGUIDE that they can load up onto their computer, and now they can go in and they can measure on screen. They can use that tool and really dive deeper into it. And I didn't go into the advanced measurements and the VR and whatnot, those additional features. I think Chris did on the last one, so I won't go into it. But they can really understand that space and really figure out what is it they need to do without having to go to the home and disrupt the sellers on a continuous basis. Now in the US, I've seen this even more than in Canada. You know, a deal is not done till a deal is done. And so I've talked to a number of agents over the years that they've told me that, you know, the buyers requested to go back into the home one more time and the seller said no, and the buyers walked away from the deal. Crazy. I mean, it doesn't really happen the same way here in Canada, but again, there's been a number of agents who have jumped on iGUIDE because they've actually had that experience. So interesting. Now, Chris, I don't know if I've missed anything or any key points that I should point out.
No, you're good. We've got some questions though. If you don't mind, I'll read them out loud so that they will be listenable in the recording.
Certainly.
Cool. All right. Number one, outside of residential real estate, do you see a greater use factor outside of residential, such as commercial or other case growth outside of residential? So I think they're asking, like, is what other, you know, verticals are there for the iGUIDE other than residential real estate?
Yeah, you know, there's, and it's all dependent. This is a page that's not live yet. Commercial spaces that we've done, commercial spaces that some of our operators have done. And yeah, there's a number of those, and that's almost, I think we could have a webinar on itself. But yeah, so we've got facility asset management companies that use iGUIDE to manage their properties. They're using it more instead of a marketing tool. They're using it to discover and identify and document the property, looking for deficiencies. So, for example, they might manage a series of locations across Canada, and a manager of that location and in a financial institution says, "Hey, my carpet's ripped at this location." They can go back to the real estate person that has that iGUIDE. They can go in there. They can go look exactly what the room was, what the architectural asset is, identify if that architectural asset is still relevant, measure the space, send that iGUIDE to a contractor to identify how much they're going to quote on it for work, and get that repaired all within, you know, a couple of weeks. Whereas previously it would have taken a couple months. You would have to send contractors in. You would have had to deal with going back and forth with the manager, send pictures, let's identify it. So this is a great handy tool in that space. It's starting to be used more in reconstruction for insurance damages, fires, that kind of thing. We have operators that just use it particularly for that. There's construction progress. So before, during, and after, you can look at a construction project, you know, and identify it, see it, you know, see a space before. And sorry, I need to hop back here. You know, during, sorry, I think I showed during previously. And I think I closed it. But even, and then after the fact, after it was created here, and then when the space is done. Now, an interesting thing with it, you know, oh, and that's the wrong space, sorry. It's the right picture, wrong space. And then even after, so that same space, now this is what it looks like. And it's a coffee shop, and they've identified, you know, all the work. They could show the construction work. So now a contractor could share this with, you know, their clients of before. They can document what's in between, what's behind the walls and the studs. For the during shot, you don't necessarily need to even process that data. You could just collect the data, hold on to the data, and now if you needed to go back and get it, your client needed to get that data because they needed to find out where the HVAC system was running. Then you could go publish it and do something like that after the fact. But
Right.
these are some different applications.
In this particular example, was that a rendering then of what the space would look like finished?
No, this is it. This is
Oh,
actual space.
Okay,
Oh,
I didn't know.
I clicked on the picture again. I'm sorry. Chris, you need to change that picture. The picture's the right
Sorry,
picture, it's just the wrong space. No, it's my bad. I can't remember to do that. Yeah, this is an actual space. It's up the street from us. We go have coffee here occasionally. Yeah.
That's a beautiful place. I just didn't know if, like, sometimes some of the examples you were giving would be like to help someone that is putting in a retail establishment or something to envision a space that, they might not otherwise using artist renditions, or is that not really kind of what is your main focus?
Yeah, so what you can do is that's not our main focus. We document space as is. If it's pre-construction, post-construction, we document it we're like a snapshot, a point in time. If you want a 3D rendering, then there's companies that will do 3D renderings. And then there's even, we're working on an integration right now with a company that will launch probably next month, where you can take our floor plan, you can upload it into their service, and you could create that space. Now, you can create the walls, and you can add furniture to it. I don't know. I haven't played with the functionality of it yet, but that might be a service that would appeal. And then there's third-party services that they get quite expensive, but they can do that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, sorry, I kind of droned on there. Maybe you should jump to the next question.
Yeah, next question. Let's see here. Can you make the slide what buyers want downloadable and shareable? That one with the cool graph thing?
Absolutely, we'll do that. I'm
I'll
also
put it on the forum post. So I'm gonna recording this. I'll add it to that if you want.
Yeah. So a couple of things, resources on our website. So there's a blog post called "Why Buying a Home is Emotional." It should be logical too. That actually has the 2019 NAR profile in there. Great read. Something you could share with your clients as well. But we'll give it to you as a slide as well to make it downloadable. Some of the other stats that we have, another blog that we have is Sell Your Home Faster for More. This demonstrates where we took market stats from 12 months in the Kitchener-Waterloo area. There was over 9,000 homes sold. 16% of the homes had an iGUIDE on the MLS. 25% of the homes actually had an iGUIDE. That was about 10% of agents back when we did this didn't upload it to the MLS. So we've added in like email campaigns that are when you create an iGUIDE to educate the agent to make sure that they share it and get it on the search portals and get it on the MLS. But the fact was, what we saw was 39% of the homes with an iGUIDE and instead of photos only sold or were on the market 39% less days on the market. Homes with other videos and virtual tours, the iGUIDE was 14% less days on market than those homes. And this was from all price bands that you could see here. It also did sell for more, but to be truthful, if you ever read the book Freakonomics, agents are more concerned about selling it faster than they are about selling it more, but this is great information to share with the home sellers. Any other questions, Chris?
Yes, lots. We're going to be here all day.
Okay. So just so everybody knows, we have a hard stop at 3. So, what we'll do is we'll take some of the questions and probably make another webinar since Chris is really excited about this idea. So we'll do some more.
Cool. Next question. Is it better to include staging for residential real estate for iGUIDE or empty? I think that means like rather do a property, where it's empty or whether it's been staged.
I think, from a lot of the agents that I've spoke to and a lot of the top agents, they'll professionally stage a home. Where you've got these iBuyer programs in the U.S. like Open Door and Zillow, they're not staging the properties, but they are cleaning them up, painting them neutral colors and that kind of thing. The thing about a home is you want to make it so that people that walk into it can really see themselves in that space. So if there's crazy colors or crazy furniture or things that are just very, if a buyer's going in and it's a really pink kids room, but they don't have any kids, it's not going to appeal to them. So you want to make it as appealing as possible. I'm probably not the expert on that in terms of it helping to sell homes. I don't have stats on that specifically, but from a lot of the agents that I've talked to, they prefer staging. And then you also have the ability to virtually stage as well with the iGUIDE.
Cool. All right, next one. When the iGUIDE's finished, where does it go to? Where does it get pushed to? What portals?
So that's up to the agent to market that portal. So we don't send it out. We send it to the agent, and then the agent markets it. So through some of their brokerages, they can market it. If it's in Canada, typically what we educate agents to do with an iGUIDE, share it on social media, and now more than ever. And really what's nice about social media right now is we give you multiple ways of sharing an iGUIDE. So we'll give you like a photo sphere, which is the 360 that you can put in Facebook. I think I had one open possibly here. So you can put they can put a photo sphere 1 week or 1 day, a couple days later, post the iGUIDE, and maybe boost that post, and then a couple days later just post the photos or post one of the really nice photos of the space. So it's just another way to engage it. The other ways is you put the URL link in your MLS systems in the multimedia link. It gets pushed out typically to things like Realtor.ca in Canada, Realtor.com and Zillow in the US. But we don't I guess send it out. And I think some of the companies have that ability in our network. They do, or some of the brokerages and agents do that themselves. Next question, Chris.
Cool. This one's fun. I had a realtor ask why in her iGUIDE analytics her top referrals was a competing brokerage website link and not her own.
Well, did they embed it? Did they? Yeah, they may have had a link to your iGUIDE in their brokerage.
Yeah, it could have been in a comment or something, and it just happened to get a lot of traffic.
Yeah, exactly. So, great to embed it in your own website if you can, and then have it go back there. But I'm not 100% sure, but that would probably be a reason if they linked somehow to that iGUIDE. The other, one of the other analytics that we see is home searches. A lot of people just type in the street address. And if you get more views, your agents get more views on that iGUIDE, share it with more people on social, get it on the search sites. The more views and more time that people spend on that iGUIDE, it's going to rank higher. And typically, an iGUIDE will rank on the first page on a Google search. Now you're competing against all the big brands, typically like Remax and whatnot, and Keller Williams and all these guys who are fighting for that top spot. But typically the iGUIDE does rank. It ranks on the first page, which is great, and especially when 35% of people are just typing in that address.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to answer the next 3 questions because they're all like technical ones. One even has my name in it, so that's kind of
Thank you, Chris.
So Robert's asking, how can we create a video walkthrough from the iGUIDE? So there's no built-in function. We don't provide that for you, unfortunately, but you can create your own using screen capture software. So the fastest way to do it is to load the iGUIDE up full screen, hit record on your screen capture software, and then click through the iGUIDE to show the things that you want. And then when you're done, you click stop on your screen recording software, and basically you have a video. There's no music, there's no sound, but it is video content that you can easily share, and it accomplishes what it needs to, especially on Facebook, because when you post a video on Facebook, they autoplay. So they autoplay without sound anyway. So what you get is you get a very engaging sort of quick video of the iGUIDE, and there's movement there which catches people's eye. So everyone always asks, oh, what software should I use to record the video? There are a zillion different types of software out there. I'm not an expert. I use Camtasia. Camtasia is expensive, so I'm not necessarily going to recommend that, but it is really good, so I can recommend it in that sense. But I think it's like $300, so that's probably not everyone's first choice. But there's a few other ones. Just search screen capture software. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but Macs may have this built in. Screen capture? I don't really know. Also, fun fact, if you really want to, you can do it on your phone. A lot of phones, mine included, have screen capture software built in. So you can load the iGUIDE onto your phone and you can hit record, and you can achieve this on your phone pretty quickly usually. But it depends on the phone. Again, I don't know every phone, so it's kind of phone by phone. So I hope that's helpful. Just to summarize, you can create a video yourself by just looking at the iGUIDE and recording it. Next question, is there some place in the portal where we can copy the embed code from one or more of your demo gallery tours to embed in our website or marketing emails? So the answer is yes. If you go to, well, the answer is sort of yes and no. If you go to our gallery on Go iGUIDE and you go to the residential section or any of the sections, all those tours there, I can get you if you want. But I have to give you access. You have to ask me for it or ask someone at Plantar for it. But the answer is yes, you can have the embed codes for that. But we have to send you a report in order for that to happen. So all you have to do is contact support and ask, and we would be happy to send you that. Most of the time, those tours aren't necessarily going to be representative of the homes in your area. So they're great to get you started if you just need something. Perfect. But once you have your own tours, you should use those instead because they're going to look like the actual houses that you're shooting from day to day. All right, next question. Is AutoMap just for us to see what we are doing during a scan, or does this info help drafters? Sometimes it freaks out. Yes, it does. So to answer that question, that is correct. AutoMap mode is for you only. The drafters do not use it, and I will explain why. We're going to do a whole webinar on shooting tips a few weeks from now, and I'm going to cover this in great detail, but just in summary, AutoMap mode is measurements without visuals, which are useless to our drafting team because the magic of this system is that measurements are captured alongside images and they're connected. So when the drafts people are drawing floor plans, they can identify things that are part of the structure of the house and things that are not. So when you measure a space, it's messy. You know, there's bookshelves and plants and curtains and all sorts of wacky stuff. So the drafters can take your really messy data and they can go, okay, that's part of the wall. And then they can say, okay, that's a bookshelf. And okay, that's where the wall starts again. And they can draw around objects and other things very, very easily. So AutoMap mode just gives you a bunch of data, and so it's useless for the drafter, so they just toss it out. However, that being said, AutoMap mode is quite cool, and you're certainly welcome to use it if you find it useful. And it involves basically walking around the property and capturing what looks essentially like a floor plan before you start creating your panos. And some people find it difficult to interpret two-dimensional representations of space, and they find that helpful. So if you find that helpful, go ahead and use it. But it's extra time that you don't need to spend in order to get the final product, the iGUIDE. If you never use mapping mode, you can still make iGUIDEs just fine. But if you spend that extra 10 minutes doing mapping mode and you find it helpful, that's great. Go ahead. All right, next question. Just mentioned an email sent to realtors about uploading full iGUIDE. That would be helpful to me if you could be made available. Most realtors are recently only been using FPs. Does that make sense? Michael?
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Uploading full iGUIDE would be helpful.
Oh,
okay,
so I guess we can open
up
the chat.
Yeah,
I think he means, I think it means like they're saying that the floor plans are being uploaded to like realtor.ca or whatever platform, but they're not uploading, like they're not including the iGUIDE in their listing, potentially.
We'll have to probably solve that offline. I understand exactly what they're doing because the agent might just be they might not be putting the URL in the MLS, who knows. So we do have a video, I mean, to explain it, we do on the resources have a video to show agents how to take that. It's only for matrix in one market, but it kind of shows you the basics of right here, resources. If this is what you're referring to, is how to get the iGUIDE into the MLS. So there's a short little video, add your iGUIDE to the MLS. Now, every MLS system and even Matrix has different versions, so it's not going to be exactly the same, but it kind of shows you which link to take from the iGUIDE report and the unbranded link and how to put that into the MLS.
All right, next question. Is there a way to create an iGUIDE sample for a potential client to show what it would look like with their branding on it?
Well, you could take any of your samples and you could create a banner and then add it to your sample and just flip it to them. So
I can help answer that as well. You can create a separate view of any iGUIDE you've created. So that's a whole other webinar all on its own, but you can create multiple views of the same iGUIDE that have different characteristics. And one of the variables that you can change or characteristics is the banner. So you can have one that's branded with one person's branding and then another branded with someone else's. All right, next question. Actually, first comment. I love Camtasia. Me too. It's really great. Next question. I have a lot of agents using the play option and then complaining it moves too slow or asking if we can change the music. Is there a way to remove that option from their iGUIDE? I can't recall if there's a way to remove the play button. Maybe.
So there is a way to remove the music if you hate the music. And then there's a way to disable the 3D Tour autoplay. So I believe that is the...
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, so you can.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. You can't change the speed. It's set what that's set at, and you can't change the music. Okay, that was the last question. So I guess we're
great. Good.
Right on time.
Hey, so quick one. Yeah. Hey, so 3 resources that I encourage everybody to read. A new professionalism, new definition of professionalism. This is a Wave Group white paper that they did talking about measurements and the importance of it. And they call it iGUIDE and whatnot. Read this article, share, but it really will explain and get a better understanding of why measurements are so important and why the floor plans and whatnot are so important. Again, we had a couple other ones. Sell Your Home Faster, great blog. I mean, just in terms of really understanding quickly the value prop of iGUIDE, that's a great one to read. And then the one, buying your home is an emotional purchase. We'll put all the links. I guess, Chris, you'll have all the links and whatnot maybe in the post on the forum.
For sure.
Okay, great. Hey, I appreciate everybody's time and thank you. Thank you very much for participating today. We appreciate the work that you guys are doing. Please keep safe, keep your families safe, and your team safe, and reach out if you need any help. We're here. We'll do our best to help you out. Thanks again for participating.